Be kind to Gary as well. Ha, suck it, losers. Not now, Gary.
Yes.
How many of us, I think this is a universal, is that we all know we have to be kind to everyone, including Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's just a great one. Okay. Well, good morning. Let me start us off. I'm Rabbi Brian. Today is September the 24th. This is the Religion Outside the Box weekly gathering. How do we like that title?
That's my favorite so far.
So far. We keep changing it.
Yeah, that's good.
We like that one. Thumbs up. Takes a while. I think maybe we could take a little moral and lesson from that, is that first time out isn't always the best. Things take iterating and living with and tweaking. But this one I'm good about. Let me say good morning to all the people who are on Facebook. I know there are people on Facebook who are watching, and on YouTube, and anyone who's watching afterwards who's not with us live. Welcome. Glad you're here. And let me show all the people who are here live. Hello, people who are here live. Wave.
Hi, Shmuley.
And we say special hi to our friend Shmuley, who's in Puerto Rico, which he has electricity now. So that's a big improvement over a few days ago. So welcome. I'm going to take you guys all off of the screen. Again, usually I like you guys to have with the Carol. I hope you feel better. Please leave your microphones on so that you can participate and engage. This is a different way of looking at a religious gathering and service. It's not me with the holy books reading exactly the words that are written on the page. This is a different way of looking at a religious kind of gathering where we have a task. I wrote it down somewhere. Don't know where it is. Here it is. So we have a task.
Askadero.
That our task is, as a group of individuals, to explore our spiritual religiousness with special attention paid to the happenings in the here and now. That our task is to observe ourselves and see how do we do these spiritual religious things like love each other, forgive each other, interact as a community. How do we do all those things live here, not just conceptually? And that cartoon that I started with about Gary seems partly on, is that how do we do this religious thing? It's not just on paper, but how do we make that happen? I want to start us today with the ex-president of the United States referred to the prosecutor, the Attorney General of New York State, as peekaboo. I don't know if you guys all saw that one. She's an African American woman, and he referred to her as a combination of pickaninny and jigaboo, which was just so horribly distasteful. And this is coming on the same week as there was some here. The Little Mermaid. They're doing a redo of The Little Mermaid. I don't know. How many of you know that? You don't have little enough kids. Oh, y'all knew that. That's fantastic. Now, do you know that because of the controversy, or you know it because you're a big fan of The Little Mermaid?
Controversy.
There's a controversy. For those of you who don't know, there's a Little Mermaid who's the remake of The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid is black, and here's a cartoon from my friends at Progressive Christianity. The Little Mermaid can't be black, brought to you by the same people who brought you this. This is Genghis Khan, who's white, Othello in blackface, Jesus, who's white, and the Prince of Persia, who's also white. Sometimes words fail. Last week I started us by looking at, and there's, Alex, tell me what's the best way to show a video. Can I just send you the link and you put it on?
You can either share your screen with the video and make sure that you enable for video clip and audio, or you can send me the link and I can do the same thing.
I'm going to send it to you, mainly because then I don't have to do it.
Okay.
So hold on. It's going to be a very short link. A woman named Jane Elliott. How many of you are familiar with the Brown Eye, Blue Eyes project? She was a primary school teacher, and she wanted to teach the students about racism. And this is back in the 70s. And she divided the students up into brown-eyed and blue-eyed. And then they did this very same experiment on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 1992, if you want to take a look through history and look at that. And they divided the audience of blue-eyed and brown-eyed. And Jane Elliott made the announcement. She did it first with her primary school students. And she said, you know, it's scientifically proven that people with blue eyes are superior to people with brown eyes. Or she did it the other way. I think she might have switched it halfway through the experiment. In the Oprah one, she did brown eyes are superior to blue eyes. And she had her staff, the Oprah one, treat the blue-eyed people worse. And they gave snacks to the brown-eyed people. And they replicated racism. And go figure, the blue-eyed folks started to get really pissed off and angry and yell, which just proved that the blue-eyed people were inferior. It was a startling discoveries that you could take kids and train them, show them that racism is taught. It's just something that we're taught, and we then believe. And they did that with a group of adults. And I want us to watch this little video of Jane Elliott did. It's about a minute long. Hold on, we have Bob. You have your hand up. What's up, buddy?
I have an announcement. We increased our family size. We have a new great-granddaughter, Leona.
Well, Leona, welcome to the world, Leona. Thank you for sharing that news with us, Bob.
Congratulations.
That is good news. Good news. While we're on random announcements, which is now our topic, are there other random announcements that people want to share with the group? Anyone got other things that are on your chest before we go?
I have something.
Yeah, do it, Jared.
I am walking after 3 years in a wheelchair.
Terrific.
Wow.
Wow.
Way to
Wow.
go.
Three years in a wheelchair, and then I did an amputation of my lower left leg and got fitted with a prosthetic leg. And now I can walk, I can run, I can jump, I can climb stairs, I can pick things up and carry them. I can do my household chores.
Amazing.
I can drive.
Wonderful, Jared. Thank you for sharing. I'm glad to hear. Anyone else got any news, good or bad? I mean, this is part of being a community is sharing, and let's not necessarily follow the exact outline that I put together. I don't say that to be obnoxious at all. I mean that seriously. This is a group. I'm not. I might be the guy whose room it is, but that doesn't mean that we do exactly what I thought. Other things that people want to share on?
We're all at our homes or in our... We're all coming to you from our own place, into your home and you into ours.
Yeah, we're making
equal billing.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I do want to start with a few words and see if we can make some sense out of these, and then we're going to get to other words in this video.
Just one quick addition.
Yeah.
Wendy's mic isn't working, but her mother Jerry just passed away.
Oh, thank you for telling us. Thank you for telling us about Jerry. Thank you, Wendy. Yeah. I want to start with some words today. Intent versus impact. They're different words. Obviously they're different. They're different words, folks, in case you didn't know that. They're different words, but they're two things, and they have slightly different meanings. They're related to each other. There's what I meant to say, and then what you heard. And that my intent is not necessarily what you heard. And I had done this before, and we called it the meaning of communication is in the response elicited regardless of intention. That what you mean to say and how it's taken are two different things. Bob, I see your hands up again, bud.
Yes, I'm sorry I distracted you from showing the video that you had planned to show.
Well, thank you for not distracting me with your second comment. Thank you, Bob. Let me try another one. I wrote the answers to these ones on the card, but mercy and grace, they're two different ideas. Mercy is not getting what you deserve. Like if somebody's going to show you mercy, please show me mercy. I deserve to be lambasted. I deserve the punishment, but mercy is not getting what I deserve, whereas grace is getting something I don't deserve. We're going to hit some other words, and then I'm going to try one more. Guilt and shame. I'm going to read to you some differences between the two. Guilt is I did something that's against my moral code. Shame is the society telling me to stop my behavior. Guilt, I did something against my moral code. Shame, society's telling me I'm doing something wrong and I need to stop. And I should feel bad. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just giving us different words to use because we're going to be talking in a moment about these two words. There is a difference between not being racist and being anti-racist. I don't think there's anybody here who last night, and I don't want to know if the answer is you did, but I don't think there's anyone here who last night went out in the middle of the dark and burned a cross on somebody's lawn. I don't think that any of us are there's a difference between not being racist and about being anti-racist. And let's roll that video. Can we roll that video, Alex? It's a short video, and it's really going to be a little bit upsetting.
Okay. I'm queuing it up right now.
I want every white person in this room who would be happy to be treated as this society in general treats our citizens, our black citizens. If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions. If you white folks want to be treated the way blacks are in this society, stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others.
Wow.
Looks like.
It's powerful, isn't it?
Very.
Wow. Yeah.
Last week, I started, and as we have started for the last number of weeks, for the last months, we've started with indigenous land recognitions. We started with Black Lives Matters talks. And we've talked about raising up other voices. And last week, I put in a link to an article about qualities of white supremacy culture. And one of the comments I heard back, and it's a fair comment, was, I'm not racist. Don't tell me this. And what I want us to look at today is you might not be racist, but that doesn't mean that you're doing much or anything about being an anti-racist, about doing something to stop the perpetuation of this white supremacy culture. And we're going to talk about this today. We're going to talk about white supremacy culture and how we are possibly all complicit. And that video we just saw, that's chilling.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between racism and systematic racism. I mean, you might not be actively racist, but you exist. I think I exist in systematic racist society.
Right. And I want us to thank you, Aaron. I want us to look at it. There's a difference between burning crosses, and there's some very subtle things that we're doing about upholding white supremacy culture, like not shouting out the former president for making racist remarks. I mean, that one's quite obvious. But then there are others as well. Before we get there, I want to make a distinction between two other words. And thank you for going here. I've been thinking about today's gathering, and I've been thinking, my God, this group is becoming real. Because in the second hour, people share vulnerably and openly. And we don't do that as well in the first hour. Of course we don't. This is a larger group, and it's a public space. But I'm going to ask us to lean in. And here's going to be the next set of words that I want to look at the difference between. Last week, Kip helped us get a great definition of what it means to have a safe space. He used a lot of words, and I'm going to quote what he said last week, because the deep dive group went in and looked at what does it mean to have a safe space. And I think what we are using the word safe to mean is we don't mean safe space. How is a space safe? What we're talking about here is a brave space. And are we willing to enter into a brave space together? And let me give you the definitions that Kip used last week. And listen for these, as this is what are the elements of a brave space. That in a brave space, respect is clearly demonstrated. That vulnerability is put out and received. And in a brave space, we have a curious stance, that we're willing to entertain things that we didn't think were necessarily true, but we're curious about them and we're open. That to be in a brave space is to be open to new ideas. And that in a brave space, we're willing to persevere. I'm going to put this in different words. To have a brave space, we all agree to fuck up less. I'm going to start with that part. We all agree to fuck up less. And that phrase is important because it implies we're gonna fuck up. And we're not going to pretend like this is just going to be happy, all fine, all easy. If there's going to be a brave space, bravery means feeling fear and getting through it anyway. So that we all agree to fuck up less. I'm going to assume because you're here and I'm looking at your faces, y'all agree? Is this an agreement we can all come to? You might not like my word, fuck up less. But I think you understand what I mean. We all agree to fuck up less. And here's the second part to it. We each commit to when you tell me I fucked up, I'll believe you. I'll do the work, and so that next time I will do better. I'm going to say that again. We all agree to fuck up less, which means that we commit to when you tell me I fucked up, I believe you implicitly. I go, wow. Impact versus intent sure did not mean to fuck up, did not even think I did. But you told me I fucked up. Therefore, I'm going to believe you. We all agree to fuck up less. We commit to when you tell me I fucked up, I'll believe you. I'll do the work. I'll do introspection. I'll think about it. I'll talk to friends. I'll say, hey, somebody called me out about something. I don't think I was in the wrong. Help me understand why I was. Not, I don't understand why I was wrong. Tell me that I was right. But you seek out where your own flaws are. We each commit to when you tell me I fucked up, I'll believe you, do the work, so next time I'll do better. And if I call you out, you are going to listen as well. It's a two-way street. How are we with these ground rules? So far, so good.
Powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I have like definitional. I don't know if problem is the word. Challenges that I would say I will take it, consider it seriously and listen.
Okay.
Not, I mean, I don't know if I'm ready. I already have to have a really good connection already to say what you're saying. If this was just someone on the street and they said you did this, and I say, okay,
I'm
I'll seriously
asking
consider
for
it.
this group, for where
Yeah.
we
Okay.
are
Oh,
right
okay.
now
Okay.
in this room.
Yeah, I can accept that then.
That's it. Thank you, Bob.
So basically, this is
hold
we
on.
can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Listen to each other.
Yeah.
Like, simplify it. Agree to disagree, but listen.
It's more than that. It's more than just listen. It's to take it in deeply in my heart that not only are we going to disagree, but I'm going to work my ass off to put my feet in your shoes, Jocelyn, so I can understand what I did to get where it is that you're coming from.
Makes sense.
Okay. Let's go to Ray and then Al. Bob, you had your hand up, then it went down, then it went back up, so you moved in my line. Sorry, let's start with Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I was just wondering how judgment fits into that. In other words, are we not passing judgment on someone else when we tell them that they made a mistake?
I think, sure. Yeah. There's remember one of our principles of the 5 qualities of a religious life. One of them was that we have a hierarchy of values. We do judge. Nothing wrong with judgment. We have to have judgment or we wouldn't know what's good from what's bad.
I agree with that in terms of making a judgment about my own actions, but I don't know whether I have the right to make a judgment about somebody else's actions.
Oh, Bob, you get to judge other people's actions. It's what you do with the judgment, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to Ray and then Al. Go ahead, Ray.
Well, I'm thinking somewhat the same thing because someone else says, well, you made a mistake. Well, their opinion of whether or not that was a mistake is colored by their own experiences in life.
Yes.
And I don't know that at this point where I'm willing to say, oh, yeah, I made a real bad mistake there without taking the time to sit back and look on it. Not just because one person has told me so.
Okay. So I'll believe you. Can I say I'll believe you at least at first, or I'll believe you for a moment and I reserve the right to disagree? It doesn't mean you have to agree with them. You don't have to agree, but that you're willing to listen. There's a quote that's going to come to I wrote it down. Here it is. I'm going to get to this one in a moment. Al, and then Ron, and then me.
Hey, Rabbi.
Hi.
Yeah, for me, as somebody who's been gaslit in the past, had people that try and mess with my own boundaries.
Right.
I can't promise to believe everything that people say.
I think that's the same thing that Ray was getting at.
Yeah, I'll listen to you. I'll take you seriously, and I'll do the work. I'll promise that.
Okay.
But I can't promise to believe everybody who says I messed up.
I'll believe you. I'm going to put an asterisk there. I'll believe you, and I'm going to put the asterisk to be at least for a moment. For a limited time only. I'm
I get
willing
where
to
you-
believe you. How's that? I'm willing to believe
I'm
you?
willing to believe you.
Oh, I like that.
Okay. Ron?
I'm just to quote the famous Rabbi Jesus. You can tell the tree type of tree by the fruit that it bears.
Correct. Explain to us what that has to do with this.
When we were talking about not wanting to make judgments, we can make a judgment about the fruit that it bears. We're not making a judgment about the tree, but we can make a judgment about the type of tree.
I'm afraid I'm not following, Ron.
Okay.
Like, I get the whole fruit in the tree thing, and that the fruit comes from the tree, and if somebody's an ass and they do an asshole thing, then the tree's
Right.
I get that.
Right. But, I don't want to just say that they're an asshole, but I can say that if they consistently make jokes about, gays or blacks or, that I can say that person is racist and doesn't realize it.
Okay. I got you. I don't know what
May not realize it.
I don't know what to do with this fact. But golly gee, have we heard from a lot of older white men?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a story.
Go right ahead.
It happened this week at work. This person that I work with on one case, it seems she doesn't like me, which is fine. I work with people that don't like me. That's okay. But in a text thread that included another person, I stated something, and she came back and said, I'm detecting a tone in you, and I think we should discuss this outside the thread. The person that was on the thread, the other person that was on the thread texted me individually and said, what is going on? Like, there was no tone. And I apologized if she, heard a tone. I said, I truly did not mean that. I'm going for clarity. But I was talking to my supervisor later in the day, and I screenshotted this and sent him. And I did what you said. I was like, where did I go wrong here? What did I say that had a tone? I don't, help me out. And he said, Ginny, there was no tone. You did nothing wrong. You're absolutely fine. She interpreted it different than you intended because of something that's going on with her, not with you. And said, just you keep communicating the way you're communicating it is. It's very clear. It's, concise, blah, 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 blah. So don't worry about this.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm going to call out something, and this is going to take a little bit of brave on my part. Gosh, we quickly ran from racism, and I'm going to pull us back. I'm going to pull us back first with this quote from Rabindranath Tagore. And I'm going to... Tagore, thank you.
Tagore.
Tagore.
Rabindranath
Tagore.
Rabindranath Tagore.
Okay.
Tagore.
Thank you. Who wrote the following: power takes as ingratitude the writhing of its victims. Power takes as ingratitude the writhing of its victims. My children complain about what a horrible father I am, and I think, those ungrateful children.
And through that,
right? Power takes as ingratitude the writhing of its victims. Hi, white people. Are we doing the same thing? And are we saying that the people who are complaining about racism, overt and covert, Are we just saying, well, they're complaining too much? Are we saying, I'm not willing to fully believe you? It doesn't seem that bad. I'm not burning a cross on your lawn. We're going to go to Harold and Connie, and then I'm going to come back. Yeah.
You remember last week I gave you a book written by Isabel Wilkerson called Caste, C-A-S-T-E. And for people that don't really live in that world or didn't grow up with it, she gives you an absolutely clear, documented system that shows white supremacy is absolutely powerful and it's absolutely built into our system. And she takes it from way back to right now to today.
Right.
And by the time a white man like me that never grew up with it finished the book, I had a whole new perspective of something I didn't even realize.
Oh, we're gonna bring that perspective to other people today. So sit tight. Thank you, Harold. I'm glad your eyes are opening. Al, and then Ann. Hi, Ann.
Yeah, hi. I just, to me, there's an element of discernment in your question about racism, because if I believe easily anybody who comes to me and says I'm wrong, I would also believe easily the people that say I'm letting foreigners into this country to diminish the power of white people. Because I have people telling me that too. So there's kind of two sides to this, and to me, I have to keep my discernment to maintain my own whole.
I want hold me to what comes up next based on what you have just said. But let's put out where I'm going and then and circle back. Yes, Ann.
Al said better what I was going to say. When I look at number 2, when you tell me I screwed up, I believe you and agree to do the work. I have most of my cousins are very, very MAGA. And one of them has said to me, why would anybody ever want to go to Europe, especially Northern Europe, because they're socialist and therefore they are starving, just like Venezuela. And this is my MAGA cousin. Okay. And I said, have you ever been in Europe? Oh, no, I'd never want to go there. They don't have enough to eat. And I said, well, my husband and I have been there many times, and let me tell you, they have really good food and it's abundant. So they really are doing well. And she said, oh, they just probably put on a show for you Americans. They are starving because they're socialists. They have to be starving. Now, if I do not apply, she also tells jokes with N-words. If I do not apply discernment, as Al was talking about, I cannot say, oh, I'll believe you at first and I'll agree to do the work. I can't do that.
Okay.
So, yeah, these are 2 white people we're talking about, but they're 2 white women. So,
I got you.
I mean.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you. And there's a great Mark Twain quote that I've been thinking about since Trump got elected, which is, it's easier to fool somebody than to convince them they've been fooled. Okay, now let me bring us circling back. But I'm not racist, you say. But I'm not racist. I'm not. My favorite comment I heard about racism, I overheard this. I swear to you, I did. I could tell you exactly where I was when I heard it to prove, like that would prove that it happened. But I did hear a woman say, I couldn't possibly be racist. I don't know any black people. Okay, I thought that was much funnier than.
Shmuley has his hand up.
Go, Shmuley.
Of course, there's racism, overt and covert. I've heard people tell me, hey, but you don't look Puerto Rican. Because you have lighter skin and you have blue eyes. And I said, like, give me a break, man. I mean, You don't look that smart either.
That's a great response. So let me talk a little bit about some subtle, covert racism that I was not aware of myself until I became aware of it. But white culture, white supremacy culture runs on an idea that things should start on time.
Yeah.
Now, let's take a moment because that's a weird one to think about. We all think, or I can say for myself, I think things go better because we have clocks and everyone agrees and we're going to start on time and we're going to end on time and it goes better that way. And then the next question is, it's better for whom? And if the answer is it's better for most, then what does that mean about the people for whom it's not better? That you don't value them? White supremacy culture has an idea that there's one right way of doing things. White supremacy culture has an idea that there's the written word trumps other words. White supremacy culture has an idea that quantity is more important than quality. And when we buy into these ideas and we think something's wrong with those people who came late, they're being disrespectful, I want us to see that is a full white judgment. If you've been to some other places in the world, there's not that idea of, oh, just show up later. Well, what time should I show up? What do you mean? Just show up later. It's a different way of thinking, and it's not that one's right and one's wrong, but as so long as we buy in that we are helping to support white supremacy culture. I'm going to give you a book title here. This is an easy enough to read book that I picked up. It's called Rise Up: How You Can Join the Fight Against White Supremacy. It explains some of how some of this is covert. And then there's some historical things like I didn't know there's an idea of reparations, that the American government should pay reparations towards people who were enslaved. And I found out that there were reparations paid immediately after the Civil War, but they were paid to the white ex-slave owners.
Right.
Did you know that?
Yeah. It's in the book.
It's in that white folk, that the black folk who did the work weren't the ones who were given reparation and paid. That the white folks were. How fucking crazy is that? I'll say one more thing and then I'll get to your comments. This is on us who are white or pass for white to take up and do this work. To ask our African American, Latino, Native, BIPOC friends to take up and to ask us for help is giving them yet another thing to do. Where I'm the one who's gaining from white supremacy culture, it is my job to do, to take on. I'm going to be quiet for a little bit. We'll go to Bob and go to other thoughts. I'd love to hear from voices we haven't heard from yet. Go ahead, Bob.
Is racism considered only to be experienced on the part of white people? Or is racism something that is universal across all people of different colors?
All I know is right now we got white supremacy and we got people who aren't white who are suffering. And my question is, are we going to believe them? Are we going to believe the non-white folk who say, y'all have fucked up? Are we willing to entertain that, or are we going to dismiss it out of hand?
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that in my life experience, that I was not necessarily mistreated by a group of black men until they found out that my roommate was black.
Okay.
And then I was treated a whole lot differently.
Okay.
And that I went to a racism class or
Seminar
a few years ago,
Yeah.
where the story was presented where there was a white woman who had a child and they were in the park. And a black woman was sitting on a bench a ways away. And the child all of a sudden started running away and toward the black woman. The white woman went and got the child and brought it back to where it was. The presumption was made by the black woman that the white woman was racist because she was taking her child away from that. The possibility might have been is that the white woman just didn't want her child running away. And so was it not a question of racism on the part of the black woman thinking that the white woman was racist?
I possibly, probably, yes. We're always going to find yes, but let's bring it back to where we are now. I want to hear from other people in the here and now, other reactions to this. And again, let me go back to one other thing. My intent is not to make you feel bad. I might have. But I think it's also okay for white folk to feel a bit uncomfortable. Thoughts, comments, especially from people we haven't heard from before. Let's do April and then Derek.
All right. Hi, everybody.
Hi, April.
I'm nervous because I don't like to impose my views on other people, but I'm brown, visibly. That's not to say that other people aren't from minority cultures, but to speak up in this space it's more public, obviously, right? I don't know every single person here. So I just wanted to address Bob's raising of what sounds like reverse racism, and how people in anti-racist circles will sometimes talk about that. This is not to judge Bob or anybody else who has these questions, because like I approach Bob with this sense of openness, and anybody who has questions like these with just like they're curious and they're wondering and they're trying to situate themselves. But including myself, I'm always trying to situate myself. But when racism is connected to power, that's when they call it racism. Otherwise, it's prejudice, because people of color or people of minority groups, even like they may be gay, they might not be visible, are in situations they've been used to being fingered in some way, you know, like as being problematic. And so there might be a perception that that woman was being racist by taking her child away, but I wouldn't call it reverse racism. I would call it like a prejudice based on experience. And in the sense that sometimes people of color don't have as much power, they don't have much leeway with, say, child and family services, with the police force. There's a lot of muck that I hear in police forces services in my own hometown, directed at the people that they are policing. So there's real concern, and she was very brave at one level to talk with the woman who she perceived as being racist, but at the same time, it can make everybody uncomfortable. So I understand why Bob is bringing this up, and I think it's a really valuable and valid thing. So.
Thank you, April. Thank you for sharing. I had Derek, and then Wendy, and then Harold.
Yeah, excuse me. I've been listening closely to what you had to say, and I agree with everything. What I hear in some of the, and I don't wish to point fingers in any direction at all. I think we're all, who have white skins, we're all benefiting from white privilege, including myself. tremendously. I've noticed it over the years. But what I hear in some of the responses coming from our group here is tinges of racism.
Mm. Is that you're going to end it there, Derek?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Derek. Harold, Connie, and then Wendy, and then
I got another reference that we went to the local theater last night, and the presentation was Ragtime the Musical. And it's early 1900s New York City, New Rochelle, New York, relationships between whites and blacks. The musical was derived from a book. I can't give you the author off the top of my head, but you look up Ragtime the Musical, and it's eye-opening again about what power does and how the judicial system recognizes white power.
Mm-hmm.
And another reference.
Thank you. And Wendy, thank you, Harold.
So a couple of thoughts. What I wanted, first off, can I be heard?
Yeah, we hear you, Wendy.
Okay, cool. So one solution. I went to Hawaii with my daughter and her partner is not Caucasian. And neither is his daughter, and they are present as two different races. We'll leave it that way. And it was a fascinating experience to observe how we got treated in different circumstances.
Yeah.
And so it made it very real to me in a way that typically does not, because I live in a very white community.
Thank you, Wendy.
I came home with a real different perspective.
Thank you. And it's really hard to see. Wendy, I want to thank you for bringing that point up. It's very hard to see, especially when it's benefiting you. It's very hard to see the air around you because you haven't ever seen it. So this is I'm gonna pause our conversation here, and I want to thank this group. This is a brave thing to get into this conversation and to be talking about, and I think it's really important that we do. And I'm really grateful. I don't lose a lot of sleep because I don't, but I lost some sleep panicking and worrying about this. And we talked about this in the Tuesday group and Wednesday a little bit. And I thank you for the large group having this discussion. Thank you all for having that. We're going to go to our prayer time quick with our friend Joe, who's got a list of names to read. And Joe, do you want to make the announcement about how the prayer list is going to work from now on? Or you want me to make that?
Why don't you go ahead and preface it?
So here's the idea. We like bureaucracy and everything else, we had to decide, like, how long does someone stay on the prayer list? And we decided you stay on for 2 weeks. And if you want to get extended after a 2-week cycle, to please write in again. But the list has been growing and growing, and we didn't want to take anyone off, so we just made the arbitrary 2 weeks on. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well done. Here's this week's names: April Shmuley, Puerto Rico; Jeff, Jess and family; Carla, Susan, Greg, Lynn, Nancy, Cheryl, Abbas, David Peterson, Ralph B., and Lee.
Let's take a minute starting right now at 4:15. Go. Thank you all. A few announcements to make. First, there was a comment in the chat by Amanda that I want to read out loud. It says, as a white anti-racism trainer, I have worked hard to be comfortable understanding that, of course, I'm racist. I benefit from racism 100 times a day, and my thoughts are far from pure on racial issues. Once I accept that, we are free to heal, to become more accountable, and continue growing with less defensiveness. So thank you, Amanda, for putting that in the chat. I have a few announcements. Next Friday.
Amen.
Next Friday is a high holiday service that everybody is invited to, a Jewish high holiday service. I'm going to ask you guys, because you are like the regular crew, we're going to not have the chat open next Friday during service because it's a little more high church of an experience. And if you want to communicate with each other, and the chat is, there's some platforms where they can't turn the chat off and it winds up being distracting. So we're going to ask people to go over to the clubhouse if you want to do chatting with each other, to do it in a separate vehicle there. Other announcements, I have them here. Next Saturday's service is the one after next Friday, and next Friday I'm going to be tired afterwards. So next Saturday's service has become traditional of the one where you guys talk about one thing that you've learned. Here's something that I've learned, and here's a lesson that I'm going to take. Here it is in a little bullet or a summary. And I love that service because I sit back and I just hear how much you guys have picked up and different bits of wisdom. So we'll get to that next Saturday. Everyone's invited to. Hold on. Hey, this is my weekly announcement. If you find yourself depressed, that's okay. It's okay to not be okay. I think it's so important that we need to hear this over and over and over again. Happy, happy, joy, joy might run the economy, but it runs us into the ground. It's okay to have a hard time. The chat at that service. Hey, we have people who get spotlit at mn.rotb.org. And we get to learn more about community members. We just have a post about Bruce. I saw Bruce on here a moment ago holding up, and there's a great picture of him with a head of cauliflower. And if you want to find out why there's a picture of Bruce and a head of cauliflower, I can't guarantee the answers are there, but you can find out more at mn.rotb.org. Please join our clubhouse. And if I have a little note here on the side that says, Eileen and Jack B., you have both been nominated by the Spotlight Committee. They would love to know more about you. And so I think they're going to be reaching out to you. On the 25th, I haven't made a new card. I should make a new card. But there's a 12-step meeting. Everybody is welcome to join. To please put a note in the clubhouse, or we'll find you there. If you want to talk more about the GOD word, the Shekhinah group meets at the clubhouse. Please go over to mn.rotb.org and join the Shekhinah group. There is a Jewish-ish, Hebrew-ish group, and that will be after today's, just in 5 minutes. There's our donut hour that happens in 5 minutes, and the deep dive and a poetry room that all happen in 5 minutes. And please stick around for those groups as well. Okay, let me take this and go there. Okay, let's play this one. In one sentence, what are you taking away from today? Think about one sentence. Someone says, hey, what'd you learn at that ROTB weekly gathering? What was the moral? What'd you get? I'll tell you what I got was, it might take a while, but people live up to their good names. I was so impressed with how this discussion went today. And we could not have done this a year ago because I don't think we knew each other and trusted each other well enough. So I'm really, that's more than one sentence. I'm going to shut up now. Okay, one sentence. What do you got in one sentence? Go ahead, Jack.
Innocence is no excuse for what's happening around you.
Bam. That's a good one. Can we get an amen on that?
Amen.
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 Hey, woman.
All
We
right.
have to keep working.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Emily. You have to keep working. We're not done yet. Amen. Yeah, Steve?
Just as a starting point, I am part of the problem.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen.
Oh,
Amen.
Amen.
Alex, I don't know if you posted in the chat all those links that I had from the beginning. Can you post those in?
I will do that right now.
So if you would like, I prepared a little reading list of here are some articles, here are some thoughts about white supremacy and white supremacist culture. There's some videos. You might notice that a number of the people who are on, that it's a lot of white people talking, and you might think, well, that's odd. Shouldn't we be hearing from non-white people? And my answer is no. This is a white person problem. White people made this problem. White people got to undo this problem. And so listening to white people is going to be different. There's also a great quote that I wanted to share from Ibram how's got his name? Oh my God, I lost it. Ibram X. Kendi. And he said this, do you want to know what I call microaggressions? That's what he says. You know what I call microaggressions? Racism. So if you want to learn more, Ibram X. Kendi is on there. Yes, Ron.
I may not intend to have hurtful impact.
Correct. Yeah. We don't intend to, but we sure do. Folks, I'm going to hit the stop broadcast button